Driving in the country, driving alone, it feels so good. I'm going home. Looking in the mirror, left and right, I drive down the hood, see the sunlight. I haven't got a care in this world, the wind's in my hair, it's an open road. With fire in my heart and the music loud, inspiring me to sing to the clouds. You say that I don't mind, all good things come to an end.
But just starting is Joe the Shirts Off the Cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Look at it, just a day later, and I'm back to talk to all of you. Hope everybody enjoyed the day yesterday, had a good time. And I know what I said yesterday. I think I said something along in terms of, don't drink too much, don't eat too much, whatever. You know what? Fuck that shit. You go ahead, all right? I hope you did, all right? I know I did. But amazingly enough, no hangover today. Feeling just fine and hunky-dory. Really, I had a much worse hangover going to a Russian funeral. Swear to God. It was a disappointing game. I mean, not if you were betting on the Seahawks, not if you were rooting for the Seahawks, but even if you were rooting for the Seahawks like I was, like I said, I predicted the Seahawks before the season even started. I will say this, I don't like blowouts. I really, really don't. I think they're boring. I like to see some real competition. I like to have a little drama going on. I like to see the possibility of your team losing is what makes the game so exciting, especially if you have a personal investment in it, If you have money on it, then of course, unless you're betting on the points or on the line or the over-under, then, then you want your team to win, but only by a certain amount, and that's fine. But it adds to the excitement of the game. But when it's such a complete and total blowout, I'll say it's just boring, It's really just a bunch of big, sweaty dudes, smashing into each other, chasing a ball, and slapping each other's asses. I mean, that's really what it amounts to. And, the Seahawks were just phenomenal. I mean, they were just all over it. Honestly, I think me and a few of my friends would have done better against them than the Broncos did yesterday. I feel so bad for the Broncos. I really do, because they just did not show up at all. I mean, the traditional way of thinking is that good defense, more often than not, will beat good offense. And that was proven yesterday. But God fucking damn. It was just sad. I mean, to the point where I think it was that the Broncos didn't even play the last few seconds of the fourth quarter, and they didn't even play the last 12 seconds of the second quarter, before going into the half, which I thought was a little odd. I thought, you got more than enough time to make a play here. Do I try something? But no. So that was kind of sad. Now, here's a question I have for all you football fans out there, and maybe you have the answer for me, okay? We all know in the beginning they have the coin toss. They go heads or tails, and if it comes out heads or comes out tails, okay, they ask the guy that wins the toss, well, what do you want to do? Would you like to throw or would you like to receive? And I'm like, I've never seen a game where somebody said, no, we don't want to receive. I never understand why you're even given the option in that circumstance, because if you receive, that means you have the ball. And if you have the ball, you have the opportunity to score. I don't understand why anybody would ever take the other option. So in that case, I don't know why it's even offered. I mean, you tell me, when was the last time somebody picked, yeah, we'll throw. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's enough about football. We're done with football season. Football season is over. Super Bowl is done. It's dead in the works there. And it was ugly. I'm talking today about having a criminal record. By criminal record, I don't just mean, actually I do mean whether or not you've been arrested for anything. and you've been arrested, you've been processed, you have had your mugshot taken, spent a little time in the pokey. Maybe it was just a night, maybe it was just for like drunk and disorderly. Maybe it was just a little wet reckless, which is wet reckless. If you don't know what that is it's actually a term that's somewhere below DUI or DWI, wherein, okay, you don't breathe the actual legal limit of being drunk, which is 0.08, but the officer believes that, okay, you pass the breathalyzer, but I don't think you should be driving anyway. They'll give you a wet reckless, wherein, it's a lot like a DUI, but it's not, it's a misdemeanor, and that can be taken off your record. You go to classes, and and nobody will ever see it. Allegedly speaking. Now, this is what I'm talking about here. If you've ever filled out a I hate it when I do this. An employment application. If you ever filled out an employment application, you'll notice that a lot of times they will ask you, have you ever been, convicted of a felony, and then they always have that little tagline at the end there. They just let you know, it's like, conviction does not mean that you are ineligible for being hired. It will not affect whether or not, well, of course it will affect whether or not you'll be hired. Why do they bother to lie to you? And the thing is, if you lie to them and they find out about it, then they have every right in the world to fire your dumb ass because you lied about, whether or not you have an arrest record. All right? And I think that's bullshit, okay? I don't think, and then they always, and if you do say, yes, I do have an arrest record, then they'll ask you, what was it for? And it really hurts you. I mean, they say, in a perfect world, allegedly it doesn't hurt you to have a criminal record. When you apply for a job, legally they can't just say, oh, they can't say to anybody, oh, we didn't hire him because he had DUI, or we didn't hire him because he has a rape conviction from 20 years ago because he had sex with his 17-year-old girlfriend. He was 18 at the time, and let's just forget about murder all around. But, they try to tell you that, oh, no, it's not a big deal. It doesn't, we don't factor that into, I'm like, well, yeah, they do. All right. Don't let them bullshit you at all. Okay. But just beyond that, I mean, we've all made some pretty heinous mistakes in our lives, some more than others. But, are we required to be punished for them for the rest of our lives? Does it mean that we can no longer function in normal society? I'll tell you right now. On average, if I was running a company and I had the application given to somebody and he checked, yes, I have been arrested, I have been convicted, and I asked, well, what for? And he goes, well, I murdered my brother because he was fucking my wife. You know what? I'd hire that guy. I would. Why? Because most murders, I'm talking like well over 95% of murders, are one-time deals. They're crimes of passion, unless you're fucking that guy's wife, at the office, you're probably pretty safe, but most of the time, when people murder somebody, they end up murdering somebody they know that did them a truly grievous harm, okay? So a murderer is actually a pretty safe person to be around, because, unless you do something to somebody, they have no reason to really do anything to you, unless you're talking about a complete sociopath or psychopath, the criminally insane. But that's far and few between. But, murder is not a big deal, actually. When you think about it, the average murderer, you know how much time they spend in prison? Really? 7 years. That's the statistic for the average murder is 7 years. So I don't think, he's gone to prison. He's paid for his crime. Odds are, like I said, unless you're fucking his wife too, everybody in the office is pretty much safe. Now, I bring this up because there are some lawsuits going on that are targeting websites that will put your mugshot on display. Not targeting you specifically, but they just happen to put up mugshots. Mugshots are a matter of public record. I mean, you can really just go down at the police stations and say, hey, I want to know if this guy has a criminal record in this county or in this city, or in this state. And they'll let you know about it. Yeah. Right? But now these websites are popping up all over the place. Like, for instance, not very clever, but very descriptive, justmugshots.com. It's a real website. You can go on, justmugshots.com. And it's spelled just the way I say it, justmugshots.com, where you can go on and, type in someone's name and, see if they have a criminal record, and for a small fee, just, look, there it is. And there's a lot of sites like this, and a lot of them not even like just about, for mugshots. If you want to do a background check on anybody, like say if they want to rent an apartment from you or get a loan from you or that kind of thing. But these guys, they make it very, very public, very, very easily accessed. And the way that they're hooked up through their computer, the media drivers, if you decide you want to look up somebody, they bring it up to like the very front of the line, so that you can see who it is you're looking for. And it sounds like a really, really great idea in theory, except when you talk about Zim Rogers. The story about Zim Rogers. In 2010, he was waiting to hear from his bosses about whether or not he would be promoted. Rogers, who works in a global securities, said that instead of getting a better job, he was fired after a cursory Google search turned up an 11-year-old mugshot and records in Florida of an arrest on suspicion of drunk driving and driving without a license. Charges that were later reduced to misdemeanors and dismissed. So then, thinking that, his record was behind him, I mean, those charges were dismissed, and it was really nothing to do with his job, which is, global securities. That's what he's into. And it was drunk driving without a license, charges that were reduced to misdemeanors and dismissed. Okay. Little did he know that there was this little cottage industry, such as mugshots.com, where Rogers' arrest record had been posted, and he was fired. Not only did he not get the promotion he was expecting, he was fired, pretty much on the spot, And I mean, and there's no mention here whether or not they asked him, have you ever been convicted of a crime or anything like that? Because he wasn't, and the charges have been dismissed. In the next few years, however, he went out of his way to several of these websites, including mugshots.com, and he paid out an estimated $2,000 to remove them, including to just mugshots.com, about $299. Now, Rogers and a few other people are plaintiffs in a class action suit where they are asking for monetary damages for what they believe is really extortion. Now, the people at mugshots.com have a very different opinion on those. Let's see here. Let's see. According to them, we believe that you have a right to be informed, the tagline reads, the right to high-quality, accessible information about the arrest in your area, to know if your neighbors or even your son's Little League coach has been arrested. Now, Emily Granis of the Jack Nelson Legal Fellow at the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press says this, quote, "We understand the way these companies go about using people's real damage, but the solution to that is not to punish all members of the public by depriving them access to what we think are critical records. The solution is to punish these people who are using these photos to embarrass and almost blackmail people." Okay, but now a lot of these sites will tell you that, they believe that they're providing a true public service, and that, they believe that we, the people, have a right to know what people have done. Okay, fine, I get that. And, you post people's mugshots and their records on the internet, and people can look them up, and boom, there they are. And hey, thanks. Here's your small fee. Thank you. Now I know what I want to do with this person. But then there's the other side of that, which I'm going to get to right after this break. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff. Today's music is brought to you by Blemish. That was their first song, Driving. And here's their second song, Losing It.
Lost the will to care. He don't like me telling you that this I have to share. Conversations with God. I feel no one is listening.
But they are listening. They are listening to Joe the Shirt's Off the Cuff. Welcome back, everybody. All right, we've been talking a little bit about sites like justmugshots.com and how they allege that they are providing a valuable service to the people in general. You know, you go on these sites, you pay a small fee, and you look to see whether or not the person you're hiring or renting an apartment to or giving a loan to is, somebody you want to do business with. Okay, fine. But then, if you happen to be one of the people that has their picture on one of these sites, you can then go to these sites and tell them, hey, you got my face on your site. I want you to take it off. You know, that shit was from like 11 years ago. It was dismissed. I don't have a criminal record. I have an arrest record. And there was a mugshot then sued from it. But, I wasn't convicted. I wasn't guilty of anything. And then they turn around and tell you, okay, we'll take it off. You're right. You weren't convicted of anything. That'll be $299. Okay, see, right there, they lost me. They did. Because I think if you're claiming that you're doing it for the public good, then you continue to do it for the public good, regardless of whether or not somebody protested. If I happen to been convicted of, a manslaughter or murder or, drug dealing, you post my picture on, and I was convicted for these things, and I call you and say, hey, I want you to take this down, and you go, okay, sure, we'll do it for $299. Then you're not providing a service. Then it's like the suit alleges, it's a form of extortion, Now, legal experts say, however, that charging a fee to remove arrest records is not extortion because website operators do not demand payment before publishing the records, which are public in most states. Yes, they're public in most states. They don't demand payment for it. So what? You're still using something that could hurt somebody. Other legal experts have this to say. The complaint said the website is violating a provision of the Civil Code that, quote, protects an individual from the appropriation of name and likeness that brings injuries to feelings and disturbs peace of mind. And I think these sites are actually doing that. If they just operated and just stuck to the guns and said, no, we're not going to take off your arrest record. Fuck you. You got arrested. We're gonna post it up there. Or if they say, oh, you know what, you were arrested but you weren't convicted and all the charges were dropped, you're actually found not guilty or whatever, then yeah, take that off. We'll take it off, but not for a fee. When they tell you, okay, we'll take it off for money, then in my mind that's extortion. Okay, now here's another one for you. Now, as we all know, I'm no fan of child pornography, and neither should anybody else. It's a terrible, horrible, horrible thing, and it's one of the greatest violations of us as a people. And, it's just like, it's almost as big a violation as the people that commit these crimes, and then it gets posted on the internet. There are literally millions, if not billions, of images and videos all over the internet of, people doing things to and with children that are disgusting, wrong, and they should burn in hell for the rest of eternity. I get that. All right. And the people who have these images on their computers, they should be punished. And if they get caught, they do get punished. Whether you're a politician or a priest or a doctor or a lawyer or a fireman or whoever the fuck it is you are, if you have these images on your computer and you are the one that put them there because you wanted to see this, then you should be punished for this, because anytime that somebody downloads a picture or a video of children involved in any type of sexual acts, then what you're doing is you are propagating the demand for these images and videos. You are letting the people that are doing these things, hey, there's a demand for this shit. We can make money on this shit. Let's do this shit. All right? And so you give them the demand, they give the supply. It's really that simple. Supply, demand and supply. It works that simple. Okay, now the question is, okay, we find the pornographers themselves, we punish the fuck out of them. Fine. We find the people that have these images on their computer, or have these videos on their computer. Yes, we find them and we punish them. Do we punish them as hard as we punish the actual pornographers themselves? On this one, I'm a little torn because, that's like saying I'm going to punish the drug user as much as I'm going to punish the drug dealer. I mean, if the drug user, he provides the demand. The drug dealer supplies, the supply. All right, but are they both equally guilty of a crime? Of the same, level of crime? I don't think they are, honestly. I really don't. I understand that it's a correlation, that goes there. It's connected, but I don't think that it's the same thing. Now, so anyway, back to child pornography. I know, just shits and giggles here today. All right. The reason I bring this up is it turns out that when you've been the victim of child pornography, you are actually entitled to a monetary compensation for your pain and suffering. Now, here's the real question. Who pays? Who's supposed to pay for this? I mean, this is a very difficult thing to do. Now, let me give you an example here. Give you the example of a Pennsylvania girl known simply as Amy, who was sexually abused by an uncle when she was 8 years old. All right. He went to prison, but not before circulating pictures of the rape on the internet. Nice family. Good stuff there. Excuse me. Anyway, 15 years later, which would make her about 23 years old, 15 years after the abuse, law enforcement investigators have found more than 70,000 images of Amy's assault on computers seized around the world. I mean, that's almost viral, all right? And that was from, like I said, 15 years ago. One was on a laptop by a gentleman known by Doyle Paroline, a Texas man who pleaded guilty to downloading child pornography and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Okay, there you go. The perpetrator of the original crime went to prison. And one of the people that benefited from his crime, who was what is the term? Who didn't collaborate, but he's connected to the crime. And again, I'm forgetting the word. I hate it when I do that. But anyway, one of the people that did participate in downloading these images, watching them. He was also arrested and punished. He pleaded guilty to it. All right, fine. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. But on Wednesdays, the Supreme Court was asked to decide, that was last Wednesday, whether the Crime Victims' Rights Act of 2004 should allow Amy, now in her mid-20s, to collect from Paroline damages, the guy that downloaded the images. And what she's asking for is $3.4 million. The amount that she estimates she needs to compensate for the psychological injuries that arose from her abuse. The law includes a provision for mandatory restitution for victims of sexual violence. Amy, who said in 2008 victim impact statement that knowing images of abuse continue to circulate widely was like being abused over and over and over again, has filed more than 250 restitution requests with federal judges nationwide. She won awards from some judges totaling $1.7 million and nothing from others who said they were unable to connect the harm she endured directly to the defendant's possession of the images. Okay, I'm going to read a little more here. But in 2012, a panel of judges in Texas decided that a single defendant, Caroline, was liable for the entire $3.4 million. They noted that the law says judges shall order restitution for any offense involving child sex abuse, and that Caroline had pleaded guilty to such an offense. So because he pleaded guilty to it to get a lesser sentence, he's on the hook for $3.4 million, is what they're saying. His attorney has said that he should pay nothing because he merely possessed 2 illegal images of Amy and did not directly abuse her. The law says that the victim's losses must be proximally caused by a defendant's conduct before he can be ordered to pay restitution. So what they're saying is, okay, yeah, my client had 2 pictures of Amy on his computer, but I don't think that he did any real direct damage to her. And according to this, Amy has undergone serious psychological harm because of her knowledge that there are thousands of pictures out there viewing the rape. Now, here's my question for you. One, how did they come up with the number 3.4 million? I'm not even gonna dive into that one. Hey, you know what? She was sexually abused, and I would say, yeah, she's entitled to money, but not from this one single fucking guy. If there are 70,000 images of her out there when this happened, that means that there are literally tens of thousands of people who downloaded these images, and and it's being argued then, well, why can't we all just find out who actually had the images and charge them all a set amount each, so that eventually it adds up to 3.4 million. Of course, the lawyers are arguing, well, that would take too long. A lot of these people didn't plead guilty, as did this guy. They pled it down, or maybe the charges against him were dismissed completely, or maybe it would cost too much to go after all these individuals. But we have this guy on the hook for 3.4 million. Let's make him pay for it. At no point do I hear anybody arguing for, say, suing the uncle. Now, for all I know, the uncle is still in prison or dead, but it doesn't say in this particular article. Look, it's not that I don't sympathize with Amy on this one, but what I'm saying, though, is that this guy fucked up. This, let's see, what's his name again here? Doyle Paroline. He fucked up. Yes, he did. By most legal definitions, he is a sexual criminal, and probably needs to register as a sexual criminal wherever he goes now. But I'm sorry, it's not like he did it. It's not like he was there and watched it happen. He got 2 pictures of her, and knowing this guy, he probably had hundreds of pictures of other children on his computer. What's going to happen now? Everybody's going to go after this guy? Everybody's entitled to 3.4 million? I don't even know if this guy has 3.4 million. But I honestly know, when it comes to the damages here, who has to pay, I don't think it's the person that got the pictures, at least not the full amount that they're going for. And also, the law provides that once the person gets the amount of damages that she feels or he feels that will compensate her, which is the 3.4 million, then they're not allowed to go for more after that. So she really just wants to bag one big white elephant, one big white rhino, and then, because maybe she knows something about this guy's finances that you and I don't right now. But I don't think it's fair. I know I don't normally use the term fair in reference to somebody that's downloading child pornography. But I don't think it's fair that this guy should be on the hook for the entire $3.4 million. You know what? Why don't you write me back? You tell me what you think. Until then, we're going to take another break. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff. Here's more music by Blemish and his song, Paradise.
Leave this place and let's go. See the brightest stars, the biggest lights, and the coolest cars. Get bump to the top speed. Can you feel it? Just what I need. Oh yeah, we'll fly the ship across the sky. Oh yeah, and catch the beauty through our eyes. I'm loving it today.
Why can't it always be Joe the Shirt's off the cuff? Welcome back, everybody. All right. Good God. Such a heavy show today, isn't it? Good. Oh, God. It's just so gnarly. One of the things I'd like to know from you guys, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, is if you listened to yesterday's show at all in the 30-minute format that I put it in rather than the 45-minute format that I normally do, let me know which one do you think worked out better for you. Do you prefer the 30-minute format with 3 10-minute parts, or the normal 45-minute format with 3 15-minute parts? You know, segments, they're called, I believe. Okay. What have we got? Let's go to something a little lighter. Let's talk about divorce. How about that? Oh my God, I'm having so much fun. I like to get into these philosophical debates, these theoreticals, these hypotheticals that deal with real life, you know. Divorce is on the rise, believe it or not. Believe it or not, despite the fact that more people are allowed to marry these days than ever. I'm talking, of course, about the gays. But we're not talking about the gays right now. We're talking about just anybody. People are getting divorced more and more and more. And they're finding a correlation between divorce and the economy. Turns out, well, when the economy gets better, people get divorced more often. All right, everything's so good. We're making a lot more money. We got a bigger house. We got a new car. I'm leaving you, bitch. They found this correlation to be true because it turns out that during our recent recession, now we're in an economic upswing. People are buying houses again. They're buying newer cars, bigger cars again. They're taking out bigger loans again. But just this last year, here just in California, almost 40 of all the homes sold in California last year in 2013, 40,000 homes, almost 40,000 of them sold for a minimum of $1 million. And they just went up from there. Now, if you live in Los Angeles like I do, $1 million home ain't jack squat. It really isn't, okay? My girlfriend and I live in her condo, okay? I'm not saying it's ours. I'm saying it's hers. We live in her condo. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's about, 1,000 square feet or more. About 1,500, 1,600 square feet, something like that. I forget how big it is. All I know is that it's really, really comfy, okay? This place appraises for about, $600,000. All right. So $1 million house. We're talking about a house with a little yard, 1 or 2 bedrooms, 1 or 2 baths. That's $1 million right there. Easy. Boom. But, but there's a lot of them that are like these mega mansions, But anyway, I've been detracted, sidetracked there. It turns out that when times are tight, it's some people would like to believe that that the divorce it's a good thing because it means that the tough times make people really get together and work on their marriage and work to stay together, And the fact of the matter is, no, we just can't afford a fucking divorce, And also, a lot of people that are very wealthy don't get divorced because they can't afford to get divorced or they don't want to pay that much. They don't want to lose their lifestyle. Let me give you a quick statistics here. Let's see. From 2009 through 2011, about 150,000 fewer divorces occurred that would normally been expected. Across the country, the divorce rate among married women dropped from 2.09% to 1.95% from 2008 to 2009, and then crept back up to 1.98 in both 2010 and 2011. Yes, the National Marriage Project earlier dubbed the drop in divorce a silver lining to the Great Recession, arguing that tough times were pulling many husbands and wives together. No, it wasn't, okay? It's telling you that, I can't afford to get out of this shit. It's like, okay, let's say, even if you get a quick, easy, I don't hate you divorce like I did. I was divorced. I got divorced, it was about 10 years ago? I forget now. But my wife and I, it wasn't that we hate each other. We just knew we couldn't fucking live with each other anymore. And at the time, neither of us were making a lot of money. So when we didn't want to pay for lawyers, So what we did is we went to, like one of these little legal aid groups. We paid our, I think it was $400-600. They drew up all the paperwork. I didn't want anything from her. She didn't want anything from me. There were no kids. We signed off. Boom. We got separated. I went to live with a friend of mine for about 9 months. And, boom, that was it. I still talk to her once in a while. But for people who are in dire straits, $800 to $1,000 these days is still a lot of fucking cash. And they don't want to pay for a big divorce. So, when you're talking about people that are, like, say, in your middle class folks, or maybe your upper echelon folks who make tons of money, a lot of times they just don't want to give up their lifestyles. There are plenty of stories here in Los Angeles that I know of personally. One in particular that really made my jaw drop. There's this guy I knew, very, very well off, came from a very, very well off family. Had a lot of money to begin with, and then got into business and made more money. And then his wife, was doing her own business, and she made a gang money herself. And they were living in this huge, huge house. And they decided that, I cannot stand living with you anymore. No children. And decided, okay, we want to get a divorce. And they got a divorce. And then continued to live in the same house. Because they didn't want to give up the lifestyle. If they separated completely, one of them would either keep the house or they'd have to sell the house. And neither of them wanted to give up the house. So they decided, rather than selling the house, going their separate ways, and getting a smaller house for each of themselves, that they would rather live in different parts of the house together and pay all the bills together still, and live that way. And I remember him telling me about how it was, the first time that he woke up one day and there was some half-naked guy in his kitchen eating cereal. It was a little weird, because, he could swear he heard some fucking noises the night before. And, of course, there he wakes up to some dude half-naked in his kitchen eating cereal and drinking his juice. And it was, I don't know if I could have lived with that, but a lot of people are actually doing that these days. They go, okay, yeah, let's go our separate ways. I'll see you, I'll see you when I, cross you in the hall, Oh, my God. So that kind of makes me nuts. From Washington, we get a story about mandatory drug sentencing. If you've ever been caught with drugs on you, you know that there are some mandatory rules here and there that are not always enforced, but they can be pretty harsh. Minimum jail terms for drug charges. First offense, 5 years. Second offense, 10 years. Third offense, 20 years. That could be for having a dime bag on you, or you're a major cartel leader, all right? They are looks like they're planning on reducing the term limits, the mandatory term limits, from 5, 10, and 20 to 2, 5, and 10, which I still think is a little high for a lot of offenses. I'm sorry, you get busted with like a dime bag of weed on you, or fuck it, you know what? They found crack cocaine on you, enough for you to smoke that right now. You're obviously not dealing, but you're gonna you're gonna spend 2 years in prison for that? I don't think that's right. I'm sorry, I understand. Yes, the drug users make the demand, but they're not the real problem. They can be considered the problem. Yes, if there wasn't a demand, there wouldn't be a supply. But let's see. Is what they're demanding as dangerous as people like to think? I'm sorry. I think alcohol is way more dangerous to the public good than weed ever will be. I'm sorry. I get caught with an ounce of weed on me. I'm probably in my house, macrameed into the sofa watching cartoons. I'm not going anywhere or doing anything other than wondering, can I really dial Domino's and get them to deliver that stuffed crust pizza? I'm not committing violent crime. I'm not getting into it with other people. I'm not making a scene anywhere. I am stoned on my sofa watching cartoons or trying to figure out what the X button is on my PlayStation 3. All right? That's about it. So I think it depends on the drug. I think it depends on what's going on. If it's, I don't know, if it's crystal meth, if it's heroin, if it's cocaine, if it's crack, I don't know. I've never done any of these drugs. I can't speak on it because I really don't know. But I can say that when it comes to drugs like weed, like mushrooms even, very rarely does anything horrible happen. Other than you run out of munchie food. That's really about it. I'm not going to pretend to speak about other drugs. But I think that, mandatory drug sentences are ridiculous, as is the 3 strikes rule. You get 3 strikes, you're a habitual criminal. You have to go to prison for the rest of your fucking life, or the next 25, or depending on what state you live in. I think it's ridiculous. You get busted for DUI. Ooh, terrible. Okay, boom, you go to prison. You get busted sometime later, possession of weed. Oh, terrible. You get busted because you got into a bar brawl with somebody. You broke somebody's nose. They went to the hospital. They got out about an hour later, and then they called you and said, man, that was fucked up. You hit me, man. You broke my nose. But you know what? The cops decided to make an arrest. Well, that's 3 strikes, man. You're going to jail for a long, long time. I think that's absolutely awful. In international news, and by international I mean domestic, us, and Iraq, them, the U.S. has agreed to allow Iraq to lease as many as 6 Apache helicopters this year and purchase an additional 24 for delivery over the next 3 years. See, that's what I love about this country. We get into a war with another country, we kick the living shit out of them, and then we rearm them. I always love that about this country. We get into wars with people, and then we help them rebuild their military. What for? So that the next time we go in there, they put up a better fight? It was too easy last time. We want you guys to really, fight back this time. Here's some of our own equipment. And I don't even know how leasing works. You're going to lease military equipment? Apache helicopters, they're known for going into combat. I mean, what's the lease agreement with? Is it like miles? Can you buy insurance, for that, when, you're leasing, like you do a car? I don't know. And finally, oh yes, about 1,400 people are suing 3 companies that manufactured the reactors at Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, saying they should be liable for damages caused by the 2011 meltdowns. They are each seeking compensation of $1 each. Yeah, we'll get into that some other time. But up until then, ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. We have one more song by Blemish. It's called 1 in a Million. I've been Joe the Shirt. I've been Off the Cuff. Thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.